Alright, hey guys, it's Hakeem here. It's Friday, so that means I'm back with another deck. This week I'm going to be playing my Boros Aura deck. So I'll show you a few auras that I'm playing. Ordeal of Heliod, I'm playing Nimbus Wings, and I'm playing an Armored Ascension. So I'll take you through the curve now, show you the creatures, and I'll go into the details of what those auras do. So first of all, let's start out on 1 mana. I'm playing Trained Caracal. It's just a 1/1 lifelink. On his own, not that great, but you know, when you stick an aura on him, give him flying, or when you put Ordeal of Heliod on him and start buffing him up, the lifelink is pretty useful if he starts growing and starts flying. He can help you win races against other aggro decks and just keep you. You don't really have to block with the other creatures because your life gain offsets that. So you know, he's just a decent one drop in a deck that's gonna buff up the creatures. So then we move on to God's Willing, which is you know, one of the inherent drawbacks to an aura deck is the risk of a 2-for-1. So your opponent spends a removal spell, you lose your creature and your aura. So God's Willing is just 1 mana, and it gives a creature you control protection from the color of your choice. So if they use a black removal spell on it, you just give it protection from black, and the removal spell won't kill your creature, and you get to keep your aura. And you also get to scry 1, which means you look at the top card of your library. If you want to keep it there, that's fine. If not, you can put it on the bottom. So it's a little bit of card selection too. All this, you know, at instant speed for just 1 mana. It's a pretty excellent spell, so I really like that spell in this deck. And moving on to 2 mana. We've got Hero of Iroas. He's a pretty big bomb in the deck, so he lets us cast all our aura spells on the cheap. And he has Heroic, which means whenever you cast a spell that targets him, you can put a +1/+1 counter on him. So every time you put an aura on him, he gets bigger and bigger. If you target him with God's Willing, he gets even bigger. So he can get out of hand pretty quickly, and you know, the cost reduction on the auras lets you make multiple plays in a turn. So unfortunately, he's rare. We can only run 2 copies. I mean, I'd love to stuff for this guy in the deck, but you know, 2 is what we got, so 2 is what we'll play. And then moving on, we've got Sigil Paladin. He's, you know, 2/2 for 2, but he's got First Strike and Exalted. Exalted means if you attack with just 1 creature, you know, this deck will tend to do that because it'll have 1 creature with an aura on it, a flyer or something. So it gets +1/+1 if it attacks alone. So, and he also, you know, the First Strike is great. But by himself, he attacks as for 3/3 First Striker. So he's pretty strong, and he helps out your aura plan just by having that Exalted trigger. Then we get in, actually I'll move to the end here now, you know, we'll stay with the creatures. So we've got True Fire Paladin, another 2/2 for 2, but he has Vigilance. He has the fire breathing type of thing where he gets +2/+0 for 2 mana, and he can also get First Strike. So he's, you know, he's a nice little mana sink there. If you got some extra mana floating around, you can do more damage, and he's a great blocker. So he also looks good with enchantments on him because of the Vigilance. So now about those enchantments, let's have a look at Ordeal of Heliod. So it's just 2 mana, and whenever the enchanted creature attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So that's a permanent bonus. And then when it gets to 3 +1/+1 counters, you sacrifice the Ordeal and you gain 10 life. Which, you know, the 10 life that's not why I'm playing it. I'm playing it so that the creature will get bigger and grow bigger. But I mean, 10 life is a lot. So I mean, you know, when you pop that thing and go up 10, it's tough to lose if you know, you're in a tight race and then, you know, get half your life total back. So that's really strong. Nimbus Wings is my favorite aura in the deck because it grants flying and it gives a +1/+2. So I mean, if you have a Trained Caracal on turn 1 and drop this on turn 2, you got a 2/3 flying lifelinker. You know, so also on a True Fire Paladin, it's a 3/4 Vigilant Flyer, which is extremely strong because you get to attack for 3 in the air every single turn and still block with it. So Ordeal of Heliod, or any of these 2 are. No, back to Nimbus Wings. I'm sorry, I got my head all messed up there. But Nimbus Wings on a Hero of Iroas, you get +1/+1 for targeting him, plus the +1/+2, so he ends up as a 4/5. And you get to cast those wings for just 1 mana, so you spend 3 mana and you get a 4/5 flyer, which is pretty excellent. And you can also protect him with God's Willing on the same turn that you play the Nimbus Wings and get him up to a 5/6, and that's just a huge blowout if your opponent tries to remove him, and you buff them up even further and end up with a flyer that big. So then we move on to 3 mana, and we've got Brimaz, King of Oreskos. I mean, this card, I mean, needs no explanation in a white deck. It's a 3/4 Vigilant, and he creates tokens when he attacks him and when he blocks. You know, he looks pretty sexy on his own. I mean, look at the artwork. But you stick a Nimbus Wings on that guy, you got a 4/6 Vigilant Flyer. An Ordeal of Heliod makes him grow to a 4/5, which is just monstrous. So, I mean, he's obviously going to make the deck. And then we've got Mentor of the Meek, which is our card advantage engine. He's, you know, we're only allowed to run 2 copies again because it's rare. But that's the only way this deck has to draw a few cards. So I mean, it triggers on creatures with power 2 or less when they enter the battlefield. You get to pay 1 colorless mana, draw a card. So I mean, we've got the trained Caracals, the heroes, the paladins, the tokens from Brimaz, these Banisher Priests, which I'll get to later, the Rabble Master and his tokens, and also the paladins that we looked at. So there's lots of ways to trigger this guy and start drawing some cards. So he's really good here. And we also have Banisher Priests. So I mean, like, we're playing an Aura deck, so we got lots of slots devoted to creatures and removal. Plus, of course, we need land. So we can't devote too many slots to removal. So I want my removal spell to hit whatever the opponent's playing. So I don't want it to be like Shock and only hit a 2 toughness creature. I don't want Reprisal and only hit something with 4 more. I want to hit what I need to hit. I mean, this card has a bit of a downside because they can remove it and get their creature back. But I mean, this deck's playing 4 copies of God's Willing. So I mean, if they try to go at you and shock your Banisher Priest, you can protect it and not give them their creature back. So also, I mean, this guy's also good at resetting a Johnny's Pride Mates. He's good at resetting the Rock Slide Elementals. It can kill tokens. So I mean, and it triggers the Mentor to make when it comes into play. So it's a good removal spell since we're kind of stretched on slots to fit it in, right? We have so many creatures and auras that can't really go playing too much removal. So that guy is that's why I'm playing that guy. And then also on 3 mana we've got this card, Goblin Rabble Master. He makes a token every single turn with haste, and he just takes over the board all on his own. And he looks really good with flying, because one of the big problems with this guy is that no matter how many goblins you have, any 2-power creature on the other side can just block and kill him. So giving him flying is a great way to get around that. A lot of times you can fly over the top and get that +1/+0 bonus and swing in for huge amounts of damage in the air. So he's a really strong card here. And we've only got the 1/4 mana card, which is Armored Ascension. It's a pretty strong aura because again, it gives flying just like the Nimbus Wings, but it gets +1/+1 for each planes you control. So we're playing a 2-color deck, so I mean, it's not as strong as it would be in mono white, but I mean, at the very least you can count on +2/+2 and flying for 4 mana, 3 if you have Hero of Eros in play. But even sometimes you can get +3/+3, even +4/+4 out of this, which is pretty huge. So we're going to play 1 copy of that just in case. And on 5 mana, well, we're playing 24 land in a white deck. So Baneslayer Angel is in. I mean, there's not much thinking to do there. It's just put it in the deck list. Same logic goes for Stormbreath Dragon. We're playing a deck that wants to attack, a red deck that wants to attack, and we're playing 24 lands. So this guy's going to make the deck. He has protection from white, so you can't enchant it. You can't protect it with God's Willing. But I mean, he's just too good, to exclude. So he's in there. And our final card is Wrecking Ogre. So this guy, he's a 3/3 double striker for 5 mana, or you can Blood Rush it, which means you get to discard him, give a target attacking creature +3/+3 and double strike until end of turn. So the real thing I like about this card in this deck is that if you cast him as a body, as a 3/3 double striker, we have ways to give him flying, like with Armored Ascension or with Nimbus Wings. So I mean, if you put a wings on it, he's a 4/5 double striking flyer, so I mean, if he goes unblocked, he's hitting for 8 every single turn, which is really strong. But also, I mean, if you have a flyer, I mean, if you just have a trained Caracal, a 2/3 flyer, and you Blood Rush it, you're hitting for 10. And you're gaining 10 life. And if you have a Baneslayer Angel, God forbid, and you Blood Rush this guy onto it, you're hitting for 16 and gaining 16 life. That's a 32-point life swing for just 5 mana. Oftentimes, I mean, it's not actually a 32-point life swing. You just win the game on spot. So I really like Wrecking Ogre here. He's a great finisher. Even on a 1/1 token, if you have just a single unblocked 1/1 token, a Blood Rush Wrecking Ogre gets you in for 8 damage. So he's pretty strong. So yeah, that's the deck. I mean, it's not quite as strong as the decks I've been playing in recent weeks. It's not like a top tier deck, but it's pretty close. I'd say it's a good solid tier 2 deck. I mean, it wins a fair bit. It's got a lot of play to it. The mana curve is really good, as you can see at the bottom there. It's got 24 creatures, which is a solid amount. We've got 8 auras, which I don't like to run too many auras in the aura decks, because you get that problem where you draw the wrong half of your deck, a whole bunch of auras, and nothing to put on, no creatures to put them on. So I'll take you over to the mana base here. Now we're going to play 4 tap lands here, because we've only got the 4 1-drops. So a lot of times we'd love to play a gate on turn 1, because we don't have a 1-drop in play. And the split between Plains and Mountains is 12 and 8. I mean, the deck only has, I think, 8 red cards in it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it only has 8 red cards, but it has True Fire Paladin, which you really want to get out on turn 2. And it has double red on Stormbreath Dragon and double red for the Blood Rush mode of Wrecking Ogre. So I think 12 is fine. It's been working out for me just fine. And I like having 12 planes though for for armored ascension, because every single planes you get into play, if you ever draw this thing, then it's a pretty huge bomb. So anyway, that's the Boros Aura deck. I'm gonna take it up for a spin all week long, and hopefully you do the same thing, sleeve it up and take it out yourself and get a few wins with it. But I'll be back with the gameplay now in just a few minutes, and you get to see how the deck performs. Thanks for watching.